Hello, this is Dean and welcome to Photo Blue. Today I thought I'd show you how to take one of your own photographs and use it to create an AI generated image in Midjourney. So I'm in Discord right now because Discord is how you interface with Midjourney, although they are creating a web interface as well. What I've done is I've uploaded in Discord these 3 images that I took, and the way I did that is I went down here and I went to upload file. I selected an image and uploaded it into Discord, and the reason I did that is because it's an easy way to get a web link to the image, or create a web link to the image, as long as you have the images uploaded on a web server and you can create a link that references the file with like a .jpeg on the end of it. You should be fine. Some sharing services like Google Cloud and Google Photo don't work because they have a link that kind of forwards it, and that can be problematic. So it's the easiest way to be able to access your photo. So I have these 3 photos here. This first photo, or these first 2 photos, are actually of the same building. They're at a similar angle. They're not exactly at the same angle, but they are taken at different times. I think they're a couple of years apart, and they're in different seasons. The top one's in the winter, and it's a very overcast day, as you can see. And there's no foliage around this building at this time. It's been all trimmed away. But over the years, some foliage has grown up around this building in the second image. And the sky is very blue. It's a bright day, kind of high contrast. It's not, like I said, it's not the exact same angle, but it's from the same side, basically. And then I have this third image that we'll use later. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare what happens when we take these 2 different images of the same thing, really, but under different circumstances, or different days, different seasons, and with different foliage around it. And then we're going to take this different image and add it in with one of these other images and see what we get. So we can take any image basically and use it as kind of a basis and tell Midjourney to create an AI image with it. And we can also put words with the image as well. So it's a bunch we can do. But we're going to just start with some base things so you can see some of the stuff that will happen with it. And I'll show you some of the command line switches that can kind of help with this or affect this. So let's start with this first image here. So I'm going to go to this image and I'm going to go open original. And when I do that, I'm going to get the link to it. And so we're going to close that back down. So I copied the link, opened it up in a web browser in a different window, and I copied the link. So we're going to start off with the base command, which is imagine, and it gives us a prompt. To base a Midjourney image off of a photograph or another image, all you have to do is put the web URL. And so we're going to do that right here. And this is this top image up here. And I'm not going to put any description, any text description right now. I am going to use the --AR32, which will put it in the same image format. That's the kind of standard image format for photos. And so it should be the same image format. And I'm going to see just with this what happens. So if we hit enter, Now it's going to take a few minutes for it to run through the processing. So while it's doing that, and it's already started right now to create some of these images here, you can see it's getting into more and more focus as it does it. While it's doing that, I'm going to take this image and I'm going to get the URL to this. And once again, I hit open original and it opened a web browser, and I just took the URL from the web browser. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go image, or imagine, I mean, and we're going to put the new URL to this other image, and I'm going to add the aspect ratio again as 3:2. And I'm going to hit enter. And so I didn't add any real switches except for the AR that keeps it in the same aspect ratio. And I only used the link in both of these. So let's take a look at, while the second set is running, let's take a look at the first set. So these are some of the images it created just right off the top based on that image. So actually some pretty interesting images to start with right here. And once again, that's based off of this one up here. And now the second set is beginning to generate down here, and it's picked up. It looks like it's picked up on the green on this other photograph. Let's look at these. You can see with this image, it's actually because there's so much green around it, added more greenery. There's a little building right here. The interesting thing with this one, and this occurs sometimes, is it's actually taken the windows and it's actually made an interior view of this building looking out. So it based it, I guess, on this window right here, or these windows. So that's interesting. So I'm going to actually do a re-roll of this one because some of this is kind of random, because we got these two interior. Let's see if we can get some more exterior views of that. Now, the only thing that we can do, and let's see what this comes out like, is we can add some switches into this. So let's it's done some more interiors. So let's go ahead and go imagine and do the prompt again and do this. This is the URL to the second one. Let's add a Stylize prompt on this. And what we're going to do, by default, the value is 2500. We're going to put it down to 1250. And we're going to do the aspect ratio again. And we're going to hit enter. And let that run. And now let's take a look at the second one of these that we drew. And very interesting. And it's actually put in all of the greenery and more of the shrubs. And once again, it did an interior view, which is interesting when that happens. So it's giving you these choices basically of some things that it could come up with based on the photograph that I entered. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to go back up here. These came out really good, and you can tell that one of the differences here is that these are overcast and more wintry. It picked that up in the image, whereas these are primarily brighter days, and it's much more green, and the season seems to have changed. So let's do a re-roll of this one right here and see, ask it for basically 4 more suggestions and see what we get from it. All right, so now this one is the one that we use, the Stylize. We've changed the Stylize. The more stylized it is, the more artistic and free it gets with it. So this is a little less than the default. The default is 2,500 and this is 1,250. And before we look at this, I'm going to go and I'm going to well, actually, let's just look at this first. Look. So this one, this is an interesting one right here. So these are going to be more towards what the photograph looks like. It's going to be less stylized. And what we're going to do is we're going to do one that's the lowest level, which is stylized 625, which is it turns off kind of some of the artistic areas of it. It makes it more towards the image and less towards its own kind of going its own way, and being more artistic or more creative with it. So once again, here's the other 4 from the other image, which is this top image right up here. And this is another re-roll of it. And you can see once again it's more wintry. This is a nice looking one right up here. And I really like the sky in that one. And so it's created these new buildings out of this, basically out of a photograph of a building that we use, but it's using some of the same elements it sees in this building. So you can see the brick here, and it's painted also white. Some of the bricks are white, I believe, and there's this chimney right here. And if we go back to the original image, well, there's actually no chimney, so it added the chimney into it. But you see, it's taken the brick color, and then where it's kind of painted white around here, it's taken that to create some of these images. And a lot of times what will happen is it's actually added this chimney itself, but sometimes if you have chimneys or things coming out of the roof, or certain features like maybe a little tower or whatever in a building, it will actually generate using that, and it may use that for some of the ideas that it created as well. So we're going to take this image once again, which is the greener image, this image right here, and we're going to mess with the stylized again. We put that image in, and we're going to go SS, and we're going to go 625 just to see what happens. And you can experiment with this yourself and with different images, but one of the things that you see here is that as you experiment putting your images in, you can kind of see what your images or how your images influence it. Now, it gives you different ideas, so it's not going to be the exact same thing each time. It will give you 4 ideas, and you can re-roll those ideas and get 4 more ideas. And then we can ask, if we like one, which we'll try in a little bit, we can ask for variations of one, and it will give us variations as well. And so we can pick from those variations, and then we can upscale them and make them more detailed. And so we'll see that as we go along. So let me put the aspect ratio in here as 3:2 again. Now the aspect ratio affects it as well. It affects the format, but it also, to an extent, will affect its composition. By default, if you don't put an aspect ratio, it will make it into a square ratio, and so it actually that can influence it as well, because it will be composing more for a square as opposed to a rectangle. So the aspect ratio we're using is the same as the original photograph was taken in, and it's a landscape format. So we'll do this and let it generate another set based on that, and starting to generate it already. So you can see we're getting different variations. This is all the same. The second photograph, the more green ones. This one's the more gray photograph. So there's a difference between those. One thing we will do is let's look at these while it's doing its generation. I'm going to take this one up in this right corner, which I really like here, and I'm going to do some variations of it. So this U1, 2, 3, 4, and this V1, 2, 3, 4 match these images. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So U is to upscale it, and V is to give us variations. So I'm actually going to do two at once on this one, and I'm going to go click the U to upscale the one that we like, but I'm also going to do V4 to give us 4 more variations of this, so we can kind of compare them. And so now we're down to these 4 right here, and remember, these are the less artistic ones, and it still does its own thing, but it does affect it to a certain amount, and the more stylized you get it, the more away from the original image that it will go. And so now this one is generating, and it's 68% done. You really have to wait until it gets to totally done, because it changes quite a lot as it's generating the image. It generates it from kind of a noise. It starts with noise, and then it starts to focus in almost. So it starts to create from kind of random noise, and then it starts to add elements in that it thinks is either from the text that you give it or from the image that you give it. In this case, it's just an image because we haven't done any text. All right, so this is the finished upscale of what we did before. So it adds more detail into it. This is more of a final. We can actually look at it. We can go back and let's upscale this one to max. See what the differences are on that. And these are our variations. So it's given us a variation on that same theme. So they're all a long building. They're all pretty much from the same angle in this field. Some of the longer grass here has changed, and some of it this has less longer grass. There's this chimney which is in the same location, and that's in a similar location. This has lost the chimney down here, but there's a chimney up here, and this one seems to have a bunch of chimneys on it. So we could even re-roll this set again and get even more choices. And what you do is each time you re-roll or ask for variations, you can pick an image and you can upscale it, or you can ask for more variations. So it's still upscaling that some more. So we're still using this image right here. I still have that URL. So let's go with that one again. And we're going to try to add we're going to add some words to it to see how it affects it. So what we can do is we're going to do imagine again, or imagine, and then we're going to put the image in there. We're going to put some words, and we're going to put sunset, and we're going to put photo real, and let's put ultra real as well. Those two images tend to make it more like a photograph, and sometimes it will go more towards a drawing if you don't specify you want it more towards a photograph, and sometimes even when you put photograph or photo real, it still may go to a drawing as its choice. So it tends to give you a group of choices. We're going to just put sunset in there, and we're going to go with the aspect ratio again to see how this affects the image. So we're going to do this first with sunset, photo real, ultra real, the aspect ratio, and in the second image, which is the kind of the more summer image of the building with all the foliage. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same command, but we're going to add IW switch, which is an image weight, and we're going to put the image weight as 1, which will by default, I think the image weight compared to the words is only takes the image 25% into the equation, whereas if we put 1 here, it will make them both equal, so they're kind of 50-50. So we're going to add that one, and then we're going to do it again, and I'm actually going to put the image weight to let's put it to 3 and enter that one, and then let's put 1 and put the image weight to 4 to see what happens. And so those are coming in right now, and so the one we've got finished is the one where we didn't put any image weight to it, and it's made these photographs of sunsets, and it doesn't seem to have taken a lot from that image. It may have taken the idea for the foliage from that, but it's actually put in water in these as well, and so it's gone more towards the sunset idea, with maybe a little bit from the photograph, some sense of something, but not much. If we go here to the one where we actually added it so it's 50-50, it's still, we don't see a lot of the original photo in there in this case. Now we can re-roll it and it might show up more. Now if we go and we take the 3 level, you can see there's some buildings coming in here, which is taken from that. And once we get to 4 though, 4 actually I think influences us a bit more, because now we're starting to see the actual building again, or buildings based on the building we did, and on some of them we see some sunset. So 3 and 4 usually, from what I've found, we'll go, like, let's re-roll 3 and see if we get something a little more with the building in it. 3 and 4 tend to be more influenced from my experience. It seems to be more influenced on the photograph than just 1, which is supposed to be 50-50. And we could have even tried 2 as well to see what we got from that. But 4 is looking more like the image, and we could go even further with it and go 5. And if you go even to a higher number, the highest number I've gone up to, and it doesn't even explain what the limit of the number is, if there is one. The highest number I've gone up to is 10, and 10 pretty much looked like it was just based on the photograph, and it kind of ignored the sunset part of it. Now we could go into a much more detailed description with more words in it than sunset, photo real, ultra real, but I did that simple example because I'm trying to show some isolation and some variation on just smaller changes. So let's go with this again, and we're going to go sunset was the word, photo real, ultra real, AR, or aspect ratio 3:2, and then we're going to go with image weight, and let's put that at we're going to put it at 10 to show you what that's like. And once again, each time you do this, it can be different. And this icon right here means re-roll it, or give me another 4 more alternatives to what you did. Whereas this, the version, if it picks one of the particular ones and say base it on that and give me variations of that. So this is a re-roll of 3. In 3, we get a building in there, but we're not getting that much from 3. Starting at about 4, this one right here, where we did a 4 on the image weight, we are getting closer. This image right here is probably closest to what I was looking for. I was looking for something based on the image that I had that was at sunset. And here's a 10 right here, and once again we're getting more buildings. It seems more based on the photograph. This is an interesting one right here. This is actually interesting right here as well. This is actually kind of an odd one. Let's upscale 2 of these. We'll do upscale 1, and we'll upscale 4 on this. This is really very interesting what it did here. This one is so interesting, and I'm not sure why I decided to put water in there, but you can tell when it was weighted more towards the sunset, it wanted to put water in there. I guess because a lot of sunset images, and it trains off of all these images that it sees. A lot of sunset images are over water because it's a very nice image when you have a sunset over water because it reflects the sky, so it kind of really adds to the image, or kind of really accentuates the fact it's sunset. And this other image right here, this is interesting. It looks real in some places, and it looks more like a photoreal painting in other places. This is a very odd looking building right there. And here's the image upscaled again, and we can upscale to the max on that one as well. And we'll let that run. And while that's running, let's do another image prompt. And we're going to go imagine. And I'm going to put, that's the summer image. It's way back up here. We've done a lot. That's this one. This is the summer. This is kind of winter. This is summer. There's a few years apart, actually, and there's actually growth, more growth here. So I'm going to take this image right here. And I'm actually going to base my image off of two images now. So we'll go back down here to the bottom. And we're going to go to the image prompt, and I'm going to add this second image. So you can do two URLs. So you can do two images. I think that's the maximum right now. And I'm going to just add these two images together, and I'm going to, all I'm going to do is do the aspect ratio switch. And hit enter to see what happens when I use two images that it's based off of. And this should be pretty interesting. So this has been upscaled to the max right here. It's actually made it look a little more like a painting, I think. Now we could also, on these we just kind of messed with weighting between the words and the image. We could also make it less stylized on this too, to see what happened. We won't go through that in this video because we've already spent a lot of time going through the things, but this video will give you some ideas of what sort of things you can do with your images and Midjourney, and how you can experiment. Here we finish one here. I'm going to re-roll this too while we look at this, and you can see it's done a few things down here. Some of these it went. This one it went with black and white. With the winter scene that we did, a lot of times when it's winter, sometimes it will start to go. It will look at the subject, and it will look at the weather and the time of year, and sometimes it will actually go to more black and white images, more nostalgic images. Here you can see it's actually added some arches, and it's actually almost. It's like we're inside the building looking out in that image as well. And here it's putting some more images together. Again, and so you can see right here, this building has arches right here. Let's take this one and that would be number 3. Let's upscale that one. Let's go back here. This image I did this a couple times, which I haven't seen before. This image is out of focus, and so, which is kind of odd. And this is actually, today's the first time I've seen images actually look out of focus to some extent. I mean, they're out of focus sometimes as it's building them, but this is supposed to be a completed one. I don't know if that's just a glitch in the software that we're having. That they're constantly updating this server and experimenting with it. It's beta, it's experimental, and earlier today the server was out, so maybe that has something to do with the fact we've got a few images that seem like they're a little out of focus. So let's take this one and do it should be 2. Let's do variations of that, see what we get. And then we can look back at this. This is the image we got. And what we did is we took the image of those arches and we combined it with the summer image of the building that we've been experimenting with. And it's actually put arches in this building. It's actually very interesting because it's kind of a strange building. You probably want to see a building exactly like this. And sometimes with the arches, when you throw an image with arches in or some very strong architectural feature like that, it does some really interesting and sometimes bizarre things with it. But this is a very interesting looking building right here based on the 2. It's actually taken this road. You can see here, if we go back, there's a road leading through these 2 arches. There's no road right here. There's just kind of grass. There's less grass here, so it looks a little bit like either dead grass or dirt right there. But if we go back down to this image, you see it added the road from the second picture, and it added the arches, I think, from the second picture. And then it's taken the foliage. Actually, it's actually put more foliage in because the arches were surrounded by like a woods or a forest. So it combined the 2 here. So you can see, if you experiment with this, you'll start to see, and you analyze the pictures, you'll start to see, oh, it must be taking this element from this, or it's actually this element might be in both. Some elements might be in both images, and so it might weight it or look more towards that when it gives suggestions. Yeah, it actually did in this one. It actually did variations, but they're still out of focus. So that must be some quirky thing that happened as they're changing the algorithm and the way Midjourney works. So I think this is just a glitch. Like I said, today's the first time I've seen out of focus images, and there was 1 or 2 others I think that were slightly out of focus in there. I'm sure that will change, or they'll fix that later, but you can always pick another image and get variations of it, or re-roll and get more suggestions. Alright, so that's how you can take images and base Midjourney AI generated images off of them, and those are some of the things you can do and start experimenting with. I'm Dean, and this has been Photo Blue, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.